and this is Phoenix here, and today we're going to be doing the pickup video for January, February, and just a little bit of leftovers of stuff from December that I got, like, after Christmas. So, yep, you know the drill already, just me just rambling on about all, like, the random shit I got, whether it comes to all sorts of physical media, being video games, movies, anime, books, manga, and some music albums, and all this type of, like, cool shit. So, yep, you pretty much know the drill already. But one thing I do want to say real quick first is that unfortunately, during this past little bit, I was not able to get any physical video games, just because, I've just been so busy with other stuff, and I just didn't see anything around my area that made me feel like I had to have it, so I guess I can kind of use this time to just reflect and, just talk about, like, just some random-ass, like, games that I've just been playing lately. I guess I can just use that just to give you guys something. So I guess, as you know, I just completed the review for Teneresia on the Xbox, or the PC version, I should say, because that was the version I mostly played. And, after I completed that, I actually did start another Xbox game, although this one I'm not reviewing, this is just one for just me time, and that was Otogi. I did get the second one recently, but I actually started, like, replaying the first one because I never, like, got far into it, and I've actually already gotten farther than I already did, so I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm kind of liking that game. It is a little tough, but it's not, like, ridiculously stupid hard like other FromSoft games, so, there is that, and hopefully whenever I get that one done, or if I ever just feel like taking a break from it, maybe I'll just go to, the second one. And then the other Xbox game I've been playing a bit too, although this one I actually started playing before I started doing my review on Teneresia, and that was Operation Darkness from Atlas on the 360. So this game, like I was saying in my other pickup video, I actually said that it was actually, like, a pretty cool game, and I find it to be very underrated, and, in IGN, like, I think they were very harsh on that game. They gave it, like, a 2 out of 10, which is like, wow, what the fuck. But, no, I actually think it's actually still a pretty good game. Though, unfortunately, I had to take a break from it, not because I think it sucks, it's just because I kind of fucked up on my file. And I realized that it's one of those games where it's like the old school Fire Emblem where, like, if your character dies, like, they're gone for good. And unfortunately, I lost, like, one of my favorite characters, and I was just like, oh. And of course I didn't know, so I accidentally saved over my last file before I fucked up there. So I'm just like, man. So now I kind of have to, like, restart my game if I want my favorite character back in the party, so I'm just like, I'll just go back and replay this later on. But that was just my fault, though. That wasn't the game's fault, that was just me. But either way, so I guess that's all I can really say. That's all I've really been playing when it comes to video games lately. Yeah, a lot of Xbox stuff, but yeah. I guess you could say I've just been in a huge Xbox mood lately, because, there's still a lot of games on the Xbox that I never completed yet, so... Alright, there you go. There's my little wrap-up of little video game update stuff. So I guess first things first, let's talk about some movies, since, I actually did get quite a few. But before we get into the ones that I actually purchased, I have to give a huge shout-out to my good buddy on here, Tyler Stevenson. I've been friends with him on YouTube for quite a few years now, and he was actually very generous enough to actually just send me a bunch of movie extras that he had, and, of course, as always, I'm very grateful for that. I mean, you didn't have to do that, but, I think that was just really great of you to do, and it was really cool. And, yeah, just thank you very much, and, of course, I actually really enjoyed your RE4 streams that you've been doing lately. Very, very fun. So, yeah, anyways, now let's talk about those, and this one right here is, The Rocketeer. Yeah, this is a movie I remember I watched as a kid. I haven't seen it in so long, but I actually remember it being a pretty good time. So yeah, very, very cool the fact that he sent me this one. And then he also got me Hanover Street, which has Harrison Ford and Christopher Plummer. Yeah, Christopher Plummer is not a plumber. I used to make that joke all the time. I guess you could say he escaped his fate and became an actor. So, yeah, there you go. But, yeah, I haven't seen this movie yet, but I remember he talked about it in one of his episodes of pickup videos, and I remember it sounding like a really, like, good movie, and I was like, wow, like a Harrison Ford movie that I never heard of? Like, shit. So I actually really wanted to check it out for that. I've heard that it's, like, kind of, like, romancy a little bit, but it's not like typical bullshit romance, you know, like it actually has like really nice set pieces and a cool style to it. And another one that he sent me was an Arnold film, because, you know, he knows I likes all those, and this one is True Lies. And yeah, this film is really awesome. Probably might be one of my favorite Arnold films, honestly. It might be up there. I mean, obviously it's not as good as like Terminator and you know, Predator, but it's still like pretty high up there for me. And yeah, no, this film's fun. Has a lot of awesome action scenes. Like there's a scene where he like rides a horse, and then, you know, he has that line, "Quickly, because my horse is getting tired." And then he also has you know, the probably one of my favorite lines in this is the one where he's like, "Give me the goddamn page," and then he just like smashes like the window like so casually. It always cracks me up. I probably like rewatched that like 2-second clip of him doing that like so many times. But yeah, so that's great. And, you know, has a lot of other cool action scenes. Like there's like motorcycle chase scenes inside a freaking house. There's also like, you know, the part where he's on like you know, the helicopter there. It's some really fucking good ass shit. So yeah, highly recommend it in case you haven't seen it. Also, one thing I do want to mention real quick that I forgot to mention is that the Sega Genesis game based after True Lies is actually surprisingly a good game, better than you'd think it is. So I just want to mention that real quick. And another one that he sent is actually one where I actually read the book for it, and I've actually never seen the movie, and that is Sphere. Yeah, based after the Michael Crichton book that I picked up a couple months ago. So yeah, I read the whole book, and I can say that I love it. I think it was really awesome. And yeah, I've never seen the movie before, so this will actually be one of the few times where I've actually like read the book before watching the movie, because most times it's usually the other way around for me. So that will be kind of interesting whenever I do get around to watching this one. But yeah, no, the book was just really awesome. And yeah, and this one actually does have a really good cast. Like, you know, you got Sharon Stone, Samuel L. Jackson, Dustin Hoffman, so kind of interested to see how this one's going to go out. I've heard mixed things about it. I've heard some people like it, some people didn't, but, you know, I'm willing to give it a shot. And then the last three that he sent me, I'll show these ones all three at the same time, is that, so we got Tropic Thunder, which is a very hilarious movie that is pretty impolitically correct. Has a lot of jokes in there that would not fly today. And, you know, then there's Cloud Atlas, which I remember watching this, and I remember it being pretty cool, but I don't remember a lot about it other than it having some, like, really cool set pieces that I really liked. And plus it has a really interesting cast, too. Like, you got, like Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, and, let's see who else, Hugo Weaving, yep. Yeah, so yeah, that has a very interesting cast, too. So this will be one I do want to rewatch for sure. And then lastly, it's The Shadow, which is another one that I remember I watched when I was like really, really young, and I remember like really liking it a lot. And this one actually came in a oh, was it this one? I think it was. Oh no, yeah, this one has the Hollywood Video sticker, which I thought was kind of funny. So yeah. So as again, Tylord, thank you very much for doing this. You didn't have to do it, but I appreciate it. Alright, and now we're getting to the movies that I actually got for myself, and ironically, one of the movies that I got happens to be one of Tylord's all-time favorite movies, since it's literally in his profile picture, and that's Jaws. Yeah, I actually never owned Jaws before. Yeah, I never owned it on VHS or DVD, but now I own it on Blu-ray. And, well, yeah, I've seen this movie a bunch of times with my dad, and I've even watched it in school one time, because one of my teachers, I think it was my English teacher. Yeah, I think she was like a huge like movie buff. Like she actually had like movie posters like in like the classroom, and yeah, it was kind of awesome. So yeah, we actually watched this in class one time, so that was fucking great. So yeah, don't really need to say much about it because, you know, it's one of the all-time greats, and yeah, definitely one of my all-time favorites too. And next up, we got a very interesting one, and this is Insomnia. And this is actually a remake of a foreign film from Europe. I want to say it was a Norwegian film, I want to say. It was somewhere around in that area of Europe, but yeah. So this is an American remake of that. And usually a lot of Americanized remakes of a lot of like foreign films usually kind of can be terrible, but this one is actually really good. I mean, for one, it actually has Robin Williams in it, and yes, he's actually a bad guy, which is really freaking interesting. So yeah, so if you thought like he was like, you know, really crazy bad guy in 1 Hour Photo, which is also a great ass movie, he's also really good in this too. And yeah, this is actually like a really good remake. So yeah, definitely worth checking out this and the original version. I think they're both very, very good. And next up, we got a movie that was pretty hyped up in the most recent years, and that happens to be Parasite, the Korean movie. Yeah, so this is a movie, as you can tell with the, Rotten Tomatoes thing. Yeah, this movie was, being, hyped up all the time. In fact, I remember when this was coming out and people were talking about this Parasite movie, I thought they were talking about the anime Parasite, and I was all like, oh, why is that, getting talked about all the time? I thought that show was kind of a little more on the obscure side, but whatever. Well, anyways, yeah, so I've only seen one movie from this director, and that was Okja, which I thought was kind of a cute little movie. I heard this one is very, very good, and I can't wait to watch this one, so yeah, I'll be very interested. I know I also really want to watch one of his other movies, what was it, The Host? I know that one also looks really fucking cool, too. Alright, and next up we got is another newer one, and this is The Northman from Robert Eggers. In fact, I still haven't even taken off the plastic off this yet, but, I definitely will for sure. But, yeah, so this is, Robert Eggers. He was the same guy that directed The Lighthouse, and that was a great film, by the way. It also shows you that, fucking Edward from Twilight can actually be a good fucking actor. But, yeah, anyways, so this one is actually a North's, Viking movie, but I've heard that it's actually more than just, crazy fight scenes and shit. Apparently there's a lot of, interesting little messages and all this, crazy type of stuff, and it kind of similar to, the type of crazy stuff that you would expect in, The Lighthouse, so I'm very interested to see where this one's gonna go, but I've heard a lot of really interesting things about it. And next up we got is, The Last Blu-ray. I do have a couple other DVDs I can show, and this one right here is, Ex Machina, which is a 2014 film that I've also never seen yet, but I know a friend of mine recommended this one to me. I forget which friend it was, but it did sound like an interesting movie. It's basically just about, someone ends up taking part of a project and wanting to create an AI, and, the AI becomes life, that kind of thing. Alright, and next for the DVDs, we got this crazy one that I never heard of called Alien vs. Ninja, or AVN. All you need is the G, and there you go. So, yes, so this is just some, like I said, I've never heard of this movie until I saw it randomly. I was just like, this looks fun. Let's try this out. So, yeah, basically, as you can tell, it's, aliens versus ninjas. Like, how could you go wrong, right? Well, another thing that also interested me, too, when I was looking at the back, was that, Funimation published this shit. So, I'm kind of curious to know exactly how this is gonna go down, but, yeah, another, cheesy, alien ninja movie. Well, I don't know exactly how cheesy it'll be, but just given from what I've, looked at back here, it does look a little bit cheesy, but I think I'm gonna like this one. And next up we have is, The Phantom. Now, this is a very underrated movie, I think, so, this is a superhero movie that came out at, the worst time. It came out, not long after, Batman and Robin, and that movie basically killed, superhero movies, and so because of that, this movie basically flopped, and it's a shame, because I actually think it's actually really good. So it's not like a typical superhero movie because, the Phantom character is actually probably one of the oldest comic book characters you can get. I think he even predates Superman, if I remember right. So, yeah, he's basically like a superhero, but he doesn't have any, superpowers. He's just, some, thief. I guess you can say kind of like Lupin the Third, kinda. So, he just has, special, little gadgets and uses, his, athleticism and all this type of shit. And the movie has a very Indiana Jones feeling of it, and it definitely does pay tribute to a lot of that, because, the original comic strips were originally kind of like that too, so, yeah, very, very fun movie, and like I said, almost nobody freaking talks about this movie, and I think it's actually really great. So if you want, a really good, fun adventure movie with, like I said, if you love Indiana Jones, but with a guy with a purple suit, well, I think this is it. I think this is a good one. And next, we got this 4-pack here, and that happens to be The Crow, where it has all 4 films. So, we got the first one, which is the best one. And yes, I know the whole, crazy way how it got made, where, Brandon Lee died in the production, which is very sad. But the movie was actually still ended up being really damn good, and it's still great even to this day. I love it. And then, the second one, City of Angels, definitely not as good as the first one, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is. I mean, it definitely does have its problems, the ending sucks, and also I feel like that, there's just a couple scenes here and there that are a little, not done well, but it's not like as bad as other people say it is, but it's also not like really, it definitely doesn't live up to the first one. And then we got The Crow Salvation, which I've actually never seen. This is the only one in this set that I've actually never seen before, but I've heard mixed things about it. I've heard some people love it, some people don't, but I'm curious about it. And then we got this last one, Wicked Prayer. And this one I actually did watch, and the reason why I watched it was because I saw a review of someone that reviewed it, and I thought the review was fucking hilarious, and then I found it was on Netflix, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's just try it out. And yeah, it's bad, but it's almost so bad it's good, because, like, there's so much, like, ridiculous-ass shit in this movie, like, from one, you get to have, like, Dennis Hopper, like, acting like he's on, like, fucking meth or some shit, and it's, like, fucking stupid. Oh, man, it's such a ridiculous movie. Like, I will say this, it's not worth watching that one, but I think it's worth watching, like, maybe a couple scenes on YouTube, but watching it from, like, beginning till end, I wouldn't recommend it just because it's a very long movie, and the movie does have a lot of boring shit in it, which also makes it terrible, but there is some, like, funny shit in between at certain parts, though, so that's why I say just look it up instead. But, yeah, like I said, I mostly just got this set mainly just for the first one, but okay, remember when I said about, like, oh, there's no more Blu-rays? Well, I kind of made a mistake, and I lied. There's actually one more Blu-ray set that I got. I thought this was a DVD set, but no, it's a Blu-ray, so I'm like, oh, hey, that's cool. So, this happens to be, the Universal Classic Monster set. So, yeah, this is actually pretty fucking awesome looking, as you can tell from the back here. It shows you everything that it comes with, and also comes with an art book, which I actually did look through a little bit of. So yeah, this is like the little case here. Looks really nice. And then, you know, it has like all like the little like the CDs of like the original posters and all that type of stuff. Yeah, really, really, really cool. And, yeah, I've actually never owned these before. I mean, I've used to see them all the time on, like, TV and such, but I've never actually, like, owned them. I think I have the original Dracula on VHS, but that's, like, it. But, yeah, this is, like, the art book, and I'll just, kind of show you just a little quick little, like, page here. Like here's one of Bela Lugosi, and, I don't know, look, there's one from Phantom of the Opera. Really cool looking. But, yeah, no, I love, like, these, like, classic, like, black and white movies. I think they're fun. Like, and I still think they are very well made for what they are, too. In fact, I would say my favorite out of the bunch here, I'd say my favorite might be the Frankenstein one. Alright, next up we got the last, little box set here of live-action movies. And this one's not a movie, this is actually a TV show. And it's one that I've always wanted to get around to watching, and that is, Twin Peaks. From, yeah, so we got Twin Peaks here. So I haven't watched this yet, but of course I know a lot about it. In fact, I remember when I first played, Deadly Premonition, a lot of people were telling me that it's basically Twin Peaks, and I'm just like, oh, what's that? And it's like, oh, it's a really cool, like, TV show, you should watch it. And, you know, of course, you know, when I was curious and looked into stuff about it, of course, I saw that, you know, the little scenes with the red, curtains there with that little weird room, then I was just like, oh, okay, I see exactly what people are talking about now. And of course, you know, the premise is also very much like Deadly Premonition, where, you know, it's about, like, you know, a mystery crime thing that happens in a small town, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And, yeah, I can't wait to get around to watching this, because, like I said, it's always been a long time coming for me, because I never really had, like, a good opportunity to watch it, but, now I do. But we're not entirely done yet with DVDs, because I actually do have an anime set that I did get off of someone here in town, and that happens to be the original Dragon Ball. I got the first 3 box sets here. So, you know, we got, you know, this one with Goku, which is, you know, the first few episodes, and then, you know, we got the one with Krillin, and then we got the one with good old buff Master Roshi, and I think there's 5 sets in total, so I got 3 out of the 5, so that's really cool. But yeah, I'm actually pretty glad to own these, because, you know, I love the original Dragon Ball a lot. I still think it's, like, a hell of a good time. It's just good old fun adventure, you know, none of this crazy, like, Super Saiyan shit, you know, that they got later on. Even though I do like Dragon Ball Z, don't get me wrong, I still like it. It's just, there's just something about, like, the original that I just think just has, like, a lot of, like, good charm to it. And it's just cool to finally actually own these two. Alright, and next we got some music albums. So this one right here is Danzig 3. And yeah, look at this album cover with its like H.R. Geiger style. Isn't that just like really fucking awesome? So yeah, this album is really damn good. Might be my favorite Danzig album. It's hard to say which one's my favorite. It's either this one or the second one. But even then, it's like, man, it's hard to pick. But I'd say those two are, like, this and the second one are definitely, like, you know, the ones I listen to the most. But yeah, this one has, like, really good shit, like, Godless, Anything, How the Gods Kill, Dirty Black Summer. Yeah, very, very good stuff. And next we got is one of my favorite albums from this band with the letter G. That happens to be Genesis with Foxtrot, and it's like a weird album cover that's kind of iconic, and even the back cover is kind of weird too, but I like it as well. But yeah, so this is you know, this probably is like my favorite Genesis album. It's just so great, and you know, this is like the early Genesis, of course, you know, with Peter Gabriel. So, you know, you got, you know, Watcher of the Skies, Timetable, Get 'Em Out by Friday, and then, of course, like, the big epic track, which is Supper's Ready. That's just some good old, good-fashioned prog rock. And next we have is a prog rock band that I've actually started to get into in, like, the past few years here, and this is one that I actually really like, but I do think their stuff is a little hard to recommend, because their stuff is very chaotic and shit. And that happens to be Gentle Giant. We got both of their albums here. So, you know, we got the debut with its the giant head. In fact, I know there's a little, like, interesting fun fact with this album cover where they actually reused it again for another album, but it was only for the American release, like, back in the day. I think it was for the album Octopus they reused it again, but... Well, anyways, they ended up giving up another cover, which was a lot cooler anyways. But yeah, so this is the debut with stuff like Giant, Funny Ways is great. You know, got Alucard, then there's Isn't It Quiet and Cold, good stuff there. And then you got this other weird one, Acquired the Taste. And yes, that tells you that this band is very much an acquired taste, because I know a lot of people that claim they love progressive rock music, but they can't stand these guys, and I kind of understand it, because like I said, it's just very weird, chaotic stuff, and the vocals probably won't be for everyone, but I actually really enjoy it, though. So, you know, this one has, you know, like Edge of the Twilight, Wreck, and then, of course, Acquire the Taste, and, you know, the Moon is Down, Black Cat, yeah, just some really good stuff. And yes, I know the cover, like, looks kind of, like, fucked up right there, but when you actually look at the full picture, you realize that it's actually a peach. So, kind of funny there. Yeah, they're definitely very quirky, that's for sure. And next we got one of my favorite metal bands of the era, and that happens to be Halloween with Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. I don't have Part 1 yet, but this is Part 2, and it's tough to say which is my favorite. It's either Part 1 or Part 2. It's hard to say, but they're both fucking fantastic. So, you know, this one has, you know, like, Eagle Fly Free, You Always Walk Alone, Rise and Fall, We Got the Right, and, yeah, Keeper of the Seven Keys, and, you know, all that type of stuff, and, yeah, really awesome metal album that I can highly recommend. And next we got this prog band right here, and this is Jethro Tull with Stormwatch, and this is a very cool album cover, too. In fact, this is actually a very underrated album from them, because usually when people talk about Jethro Tull, it's the biggest album they talk about is, you know, Aqualung, and then there's Thick as a Brick, but this one I think is almost just as good, honestly. Like, I really love it a lot. So you got, like, you know, Orion, Home, Dark Ages, you know, Warm Sporin, yeah, like, really good stuff. This album's very moody, I will say, and that's probably the reason why I don't think a lot of people like, gravitate towards it as much, because, you know, it's very moody unlike the other albums, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, but yeah. Alright, and this is the last music album in this video, and this is one that was actually a blind buy, so I, like, saw it on the shelf at the store around here, and I was just like, oh, that looks cool, and then I looked it up just on my phone just to see, like, what it was, and sure enough, there's actually no, like, YouTube songs on this album at all. I was like, wow, is this how, like, obscure this shit is? So that happens to be Romantic Warriors. Yeah, look at that. And then, you know, it has, like, a little nice shiny back, and, you know, then it has, like, the little gatefold thing here, and yeah, it's very cool packaging. So yes, so like I said, I could not find this shit on YouTube, so I couldn't even get like a preview of it to listen to it. All I found was the Discog page, which said it was just a prog rock band from the 90s, and I'm just like, well, sign me up. So I bought it, like, just for that, and I was just like, okay, so I've heard it, and I can definitely say it's decent. It's not bad. It's not, like, amazing, but it has some decent tracks here and there, but, yeah, like I said, it was an interesting listen, to say the least. Like I said, it kind of sucks that I couldn't find any, like YouTube videos on, like, the uploads. Or maybe they are out there, maybe they're just blocked in my country for whatever reason, but I just know, like, I just couldn't find any of them, so yeah, there you go. Here's a very obscure little album that you can look out for if you like prog rock, but I wouldn't say it's the best prog rock you can get from the 90s. I think the Camel stuff is a lot better, but this is still interesting nonetheless. Oh, right, so now we're going to be moving on to some manga books now. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of talk about the ones that I've already, like, kind of talked about through, like, the last, like, couple recent ones. So first off we got some more Vinland Saga books. So we got Volume 2, and then there's Volume 3, and then Volume 4. And all I gotta say is that, unfortunately, I haven't gone around to reading these versions yet. I only read Volume 1, and I really enjoyed it a lot, so I'm very interested to see where this is gonna go, but yeah. Good old Viking anime, and yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with the way how it's going so far, so it'll be interesting when I get to these. And now, the other one that I got that I could, that I've already talked quite a bit about before, is I got more Fist of the North Star volumes, so we got Volume 5 and 6. So it's, Volume 5 has Shu on it, who I always thought was a very cool character. And then we got Souther on 6, which I think is a really cool villain in the series, and yeah, very, like I said, I just think it's really cool that, like, these little, like, the little splatters here, like, when you actually have them lined up onto the shelf, like, it actually makes the pattern on Kentro's chest. I think that's just really creative and cool. So, yeah, like I said, these hardcovers are really nicely detailed, and next we have is, Spriggan Volume 2. So I actually did finally read the first part since I, did my little recording of it, and I haven't read this one yet, but I read Volume 1, and I can definitely say that, yeah, this shit's fucking awesome. I really love it. So, one thing I will say about it, without giving away too much, is that in the first volume, there's actually a little, like, section part where it actually talks about the main character going on a mission to go investigate a, like, a lost Ark. Yeah, like Noah's Ark kind of thing. So there's like a giant Ark, and there's like some mysterious shit going on with it. In fact, apparently there's like a guy, like a psycho guy that wants to, like, use it for evil purposes, so to speak. But yeah, but once the main character actually gets into it, it has this really cool little stuff that goes on in there that I thought was very interesting. So yeah, it was really awesome, and yeah, and I can't wait to see where they go with this one. But yeah. Lots of over-the-top action scenes, really great. In fact, in Volume 1, there was actually a character that looked exactly like Arnold, which I thought was awesome, because I kept, like, reading his dialogue text exactly like Arnold's voice, and it was amazing. So, yeah, it has a lot of awesome stuff like that, so, yeah. Yeah, if you love lots of action and lots of, like, cool set pieces, then yeah, you'll definitely love this, and, yeah, hopefully the Netflix series is good. I'm actually considering of actually watching it, because I know the Bastard remake is really damn good, so I hope this, like, little remake is good, too. Alright, and next we got is a continuation of one of my, current readings that I'm, like, really loving the shit out of, and that happens to be 20th Century Boys. I got Volume 2 and 3. I'm so glad that Volume 2 is now, like, easier to get, because it was sold out for a long while, but now I finally have it, and then, Volume 3 is, it was actually pretty easy to get, so that was no problem. But, man, man, I fucking love this shit. Like, I know I kind of already, like, mentioned, like, it a lot, like, recently, I basically said it's like, oh, it's basically Stephen King's It, but it was in Japan, and all this other crazy shit, and I'm just like, yep, I'm all for it. And I'll definitely say that, the dude on this cover might actually be my favorite character, so I will definitely let you all know on that. But yes, I can't wait to continue this, and yeah, I'm still loving the shit out of it, and it just keeps getting like more intense, more higher stakes, and all this crazy stuff. But yeah. Highly recommend you guys get this shit, or if this shit's like unavailable in your country, like even just read it online or something. Like this shit needs to be heard. And I've also heard that that Urasawa's Pluto is like his little series called Pluto is getting an anime made, and I can't wait for that. All right, now we're gonna talk about some new like series that I've actually just started to buy more volumes of, and this one right here is also another Urasawa one. You probably already know what it is, and that's Monster with Volume 1. Yes, one of my all-time favorite animes. I'm finally going to read its source material, and I can't wait for it. I just want to buy a couple more volumes before I really start diving deep into this again, because I'm very curious to know exactly how the manga differs from the show. I wonder if there's any other little extras that they didn't put into the show or whatnot, but yeah, dude, I would recommend the anime to basically almost anyone, like, even if you're not a fan of anime at all. Like, there's no, like, cartoony, weird shit in this shit. Like, this is one of those, like, anime shows that basically, if you translate it to live action, like, it wouldn't be weird, you know? It's not like, you know, like, trying to translate, like Dragon Ball Z into live action. Well, look how that turned out, right? Like, it was just, like, the most stupidest shit ever, but, you know, but even if, like, Dragon Ball Z ended up being, like, you know, like, faithfully adapted, it would still look weird as shit just to see Goku with the hair that he has, right? Well, like I said, this shit could definitely be, like, a live-action series, and it wouldn't be weird at all, but, yeah. Like, I don't know what else more I can say. I can gush about it for hours. Next up we got is another Volume 1, and this is, Vagabond, which is, I've heard many great things about it. I've heard it's basically like Samurai Berserk in the sense that it's like, you know, it's both full of action, but it also has a lot of, like, dark stuff in there, so I think that's really awesome looking. Also, the spine is cool, where it has, like, the characters on it, and they're big. And, yeah, back cover is really nice, too. But, yeah, the artwork in this shit is amazing from what I've seen. Like, hold on, let me just show, like, this page, like, right here. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler. I don't think it will be. But, yeah, it just looks really awesome and beautiful looking. But, yeah, I would love to get, like, more volumes of this set, but it might be a while, because apparently some of them are getting a little bit hard to find, and they're sold out everywhere, but, it'll be a work in progress. But, yeah, I definitely can't wait to get more into this one, though. Okay, now this one right here is a hardcover one that I just randomly found. I didn't even know what the hell it was until I, like, read the back of it, and I was kind of like, you know what, this sounds intriguing. And that happens to be The Black Museum with, The Ghost and the Lady. So, this one I actually did read, because this is actually one of the books I actually got, like, on, Christmas, well, not Christmas, but, you know, Boxing Day. Yeah, I got this during Boxing Day, so yeah, so I actually did read it, and I will say, this is pretty good. It's very weird, but once you kind of, like, wrap your head around, like, what's going on here, it's pretty interesting. So what I can say about this is that, so it's about this girl who runs, like, a museum, and she ends up waking up this ghost guy, who, by the way, I actually think he looks fucking cool looking. He kind of looks like something out of, like, Bloodborne, or even little Vampire Hunter D-ish, but, yeah, he's a ghost. And then this ghost guy basically tells a story that, about, like, there was some girl that he was, like, you know, he made, like, a pact with, where, like, if she, like, had too much to spare, like, he would have to, like, take her life, sort of thing. And, the one thing about this, story that's very weird but interesting was that this girl that he makes a pact with, apparently she has the ability to see these, like, weird creatures, and apparently every single person on Earth has a weird creature that floats over their head, but, of course, no one can actually see them. So, of course, there's, like, many, like panels where you're seeing, like, groups of people with, like, just random-ass, like, monsters on their head, and apparently, when people get into, like, arguments or whatever, the monsters, like, fight each other. Yeah, like I said, it sounds weird as shit, but I thought it was quite interesting, and there's actually only 2 volumes of this. This is only volume 1, so when I find volume 2, I'll definitely see what the rest of that is like, and, yeah, like I said, it's very intriguing, and also the artwork is quite awesome. Now we got the last 2 volumes here of a manga that I just started getting into, and this one is probably one of the craziest shits that I've ever read in a while, and I love it. And that happens to be Motherfucking rooster fighter. Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, you're probably looking at this and being like, okay, dude, like, what the fuck is this shit? So, firstly, is that it's basically, as you can tell with the screenshot on the back, it's basically a rooster who fights monsters. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Like, it's as ridiculous as it sounds, but when I heard about this, I was like, this basically has, like, Manga of the Year award attached to it. Like, holy shit. And yes, I actually read both of these because, you know, as when you pick up a manga series called Rooster Fighter, you have to read that shit. Or at least you have to read the first volume first just to know exactly what it's about. And honestly, legit, I shit you not, this is really damn good. I'm not just saying that because it's so, like, absurdly crazy and ridiculous and all this type of, like, funny shit. Because this shit is, like, both hilarious, but it's also damn good, too. Like, it surprisingly has good characterization. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but I do want to say that there is a dialogue scene between our main rooster character, and he talks to, like, a toucan. And the toucan is kind of, like, talking about this story about, like, how, like, life was when he was, like, you know, out in the free wild and, you know, before he was at, like, a zoo or whatever, which I was just kind of like, you know, this is really well-written character, and yet, but I'm reading this shit in a book literally about a rooster who fights monsters. Like, no joke, I actually find the concept of this sort of reminds me of, like, Apocalypse Zero, but not as, like, gross and, like, crazy, but, you know, but it has, like, the same idea of, like, you know, monster attacks, and they look fucking weird looking, and then they, you know, the rooster has to fight them. Yeah, it's both hilarious, entertaining, but also it actually has legit good moments in here, and I was just like, man, like, can't wait for Volume 3. Like, I shit you not, guys, don't sleep on this shit. Like, I really hope this shit does well enough so that we can get an anime made out of it, and, oh man, I would imagine the anime for this would be, like, fucking hilarious as shit. Like, could you imagine who would, like, play, like the characters in this? I actually was reading the voices as Dan Green, and I thought that would be hilarious. Alright, so before we get on to the books there, well, I mean, I guess we're at the books now, but we're going to be talking about some art books that I got. I actually got 2 art books recently, and they're both very nice looking, and this one right here is, Yu-Gi-Oh! The Art of the Cards, and, you know, this is the back cover. This is basically just, like, a little art book of just all the original artwork of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, because, you know, like, as you know, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of those things that I loved growing up, and then, you know, it also is one of those things where I also just love, like, the old artwork, like, you know, just as an example, like, kind of just shows you, like, everything of all that, and I know my favorite card is in here. I still remember the exact page. I think it's, like, 111? Yep, 111. And that's, my favorite card is Skull Knight. And yes, it even tells you a little, like, information on, like, what, like, who used, like, the cards in the show. I just thought that was, like, really awesome. So, yeah. Like I said, this is basically just for, like, people that just, like me, who just love, like, the old shit and love, like, the old artwork of the cards and all has, like, the alternate stuff. And, yeah. My only complaint with this book is that, as you can tell, it's very wide. So if you try to put it on your shelf, like, this way, it's, like, sometimes, like, it just, like, looks, like, really stupid. So I kind of have to put it in like this, which also, I guess, looks stupid, but at least it kind of fits better. So yeah, but despite it being, like, super wide, though, like, I do think this is a very, very cool book. And then this art book right here is one that I actually had to order from Japan, because it's actually an art book of one of my favorite Japanese artists, and that is, Aizen Suzuki. And, yeah, this is a very, very cool art book, because, you know, he's one of my favorite artists that I've kind of discovered in recent years, so, you know, I can kind of just show you some little quick example here, like that. Yeah, he loves a lot of his sports cars, his boats, and his, like, you know, very cool, like, scenery type thing, and, oh shit, I think, okay, no, wait, okay, yeah, everything here is all good. It was just the little, dust cover was kind of being stupid for a moment, but yeah, no, like, I like, really love his artwork, and, you know, I found out about it because of that one album there from, Hori Katsumi. So, yeah, it's just really cool just to have, like, you know, an actual book that just has, like, all his, like, stuff just all in one. So, now we have here is our first, actual hardcover novel here, and happens to be from Dean Koontz, and that is, The Key to Midnight. And look at that badass cover. Isn't that just awesome? Yeah, just very cool and creepy looking. I think even the back cover is really awesome too. It looks like some like Terminator shit's going on. So yeah. So what this one's about, from what I remember, is that it's about this girl who lives in Japan and she owns like a club, and but she has these like really bad dreams, and then there's like an investigator guy who's looking for her because apparently she might be connected to a case that he worked on years and years ago about a girl that disappeared and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and of course it all takes place in Japan, which is fucking cool. So yeah, I'm just like, you know what, when it comes to, because I haven't read any of the Dean Koontz books that I've gotten yet, I'm going to really soon, but I'm thinking I'm going to read this or Dragon Tears next. I'm not 100% sure which one, but this one's definitely top contender though, for sure. Now, the rest of the stuff I got here is all the Stephen King stuff, and this one right here is The Dark Tower. This is the first one, and I will go out and say that I actually do have all of them now. I have a complete set, but the only reason why I'm just showing this one is because, yeah, those books are pretty heavy just to take up and down the stairs, so I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna just take down this one for now, and then, you know, I'll just show up a picture right here where I actually have, like, the whole set of the books lined up, so, you know, I'm not making this shit up. But yes, I do have them all now, and I'm happy. So yeah, this will be a very interesting journey to go through all these Dark Tower books, because these were books that I've always been curious by, for that, you know, like, they never got made into a movie. Well, okay, except for that one, but, you know, we don't talk about that one. But, you know, but, like, for the longest time, there was never a movie about them, though, and, you know, and I was always like, oh, it looks like I'm gonna have to read them one day, and, you know, and of course these versions are cool, because they have, like, really nice, like, little images in them. Like this one right here, I think is really, like, beautiful looking. Really love that a lot. So, but yeah, like I said, this is basically, like, his little, like, multiverse, like, series. Like, this is, like, his giant crossover series. I guess you could say it's the Super Smash Brothers of Stephen King books, if that makes any fucking sense. And now we got, this little neat box set here of, his crime novel series called, the hard case crime novels from Stephen King. This is the, this is all three of them. So you got, Colorado Kid, you got Joyland, which is the cover art for right here, and then you got Later. Now, these I've also never read, but I've heard some interesting things about them. So basically, Joyland is the one that kind of got my interest the most, because that's the one that's basically all about this girl that goes to, like, a haunted theme park, which I think sounds really awesome. And then Later, I've also heard, is, like, it's kind of similar to Firestarter-ish. That's what I heard a lot of people compare it to, and I think that's pretty interesting. And then the Colorado Kid is kind of the one that, like, I was like, oh, that sounds alright, but, you know, I'll take it just because it's in the set there. But, of course, I'll read them all eventually, but just, you know, I think Joyland is definitely the one that has me the most intrigued. And then Later just sounds, like, really fascinating and all that, but yeah, another thing that's cool about this set, too, is that you get, like, little, like, posted cards, like, in the thing. Alright, and as for the final books in here, these are the last two, and these two are both connected. It's Stephen King and Peter Straub with both The Talisman and Black House. So, Black House I really don't know much about, other than that it's a sequel to The Talisman, and that apparently it's more, like, mystery-related. So I think I'm like, okay, that sounds neat. I'll definitely check it out. And then, you know, The Talisman is basically like a fantasy coming-of-age story. And, you know, where, like, this kid has to, like, do all these, like, different things to try to get to, like, a talisman or something. I've heard mixed things about these books. I know because, you know, like, this is, like, the first time that Stephen King paired up with another author, being Peter Straub, who is another author I've been kind of curious about checking out. Mostly his one book called Shadowlands, but, I don't think it's related to that movie, I don't think, but it just probably has a similar name. But anyways, yeah, so I've heard mixed things about these books, but they interested me enough, so I'm just like, alright, we'll definitely look into this for sure. But, yeah, like I said, like, you know, I'm almost done with all, like, the Stephen King books that I really wanted. Like, the last two that I really want is really just It and Mr. Mercedes, and I'm basically done now. Alright, so that'll be the end of this pickup video of January and February. And, yeah, like I said, if there's anything here that has your interest, or anything here you know anything extra about that I probably either forgot or didn't mention or anything like that, or all that kind of fun stuff to keep the discussion going, then yeah, feel free to say so, let me know, and all that kind of fun stuff, because that's what this is all about. So anyways, take it easy everyone, have yourselves a great day, and thank you for watching and commenting. Wait, I think I did that shit backwards, fuck. Well, you know what, fuck it, I'm not redoing it again.
Give me the goddamn page!